Good morning, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the To Nurture Your Soul podcast. How is everyone? I hope you all have had a good fortnight. It's been a hot minute since I have sat down and recorded an episode. If you guys are regular listeners to the podcast, you would know that I skipped last week. I honestly just had so much going on in the lead up to my weekend away in Brisbane, so I just decided to take the week off. I also was feeling myself getting extremely burnt out to the point where I could not think of things to say. So it wasn't necessarily the fact that I didn't want to sit down and chat to you guys, because as you all know, this is my favorite time of my whole week, every week, but it was just that I had absolutely no idea on what to talk about. As you all know, I love sitting down and chit-chatting, but I'm just like, I need someone to tell me what to talk about. It's so hard for my little tiny brain to come up with its own ideas. So last week we skipped an episode. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this weekend, which was last weekend, to have a break, refresh, completely just like not work for a little bit, which was actually like one of the best things that I could have done for my creativity and my workflow and all of the stuff that comes along with being a creative person as my job. It is so hard for me, which I've spoken about this so often on social medias, on the podcast, everywhere. It's so hard for me to just like take a second to just pause and just enjoy my own time for me, or do things that don't involve working or filming or doing all of the fun stuff that I do, because I genuinely enjoy what I do so much that I want to do it all the time. But I do know that it is healthy to take even small breaks from doing what I do every single day, so that it gives the creativity side of my brain room to like grow again and come up with new ideas. The creative side of your brain really truly does need room to breathe and like be creative, and a lot of the time I forget that. Especially with hustle culture and the way that social media is, where it's constantly a grind. There's so many different platforms, you need to upload so many times in a day on each platform, and I don't know. Long story short, last weekend was very, very muchly needed for me and my creativity and my mental health in general, and I'm just so incredibly grateful that I was able to do that and take a break and, you know, enjoy life for a little bit. So for those of you that didn't watch the last episode, I did talk about it a little bit before I went away because I was really freaking excited. But the past weekend I actually was in Brisbane visiting my friend Bianca. We had such a fun weekend and it was very, very full on. So we were constantly doing stuff all day, every day, but it was like fun stuff. It was relaxing stuff. So I ended up leaving Newcastle on Thursday afternoon and I got to Brisbane Thursday night. My flight was delayed by like 45 minutes or an hour, which honestly, I love chilling in an airport. Just me or anyone else. Like that, it's so fun for me, especially if I do have my work, which kind of defeats the purpose, but I didn't bring my work on this last weekend trip, so it was fine. But yeah, especially if I have like my laptop, you know, photos to edit, videos to edit, like the vibe at an airport just hits different, you know? It's like taking your work to a cafe and sitting at a cafe and having a coffee. Airports give the same vibe for me, and I really freaking enjoy it. So yeah, my flight was delayed by 45 minutes or an hour, but I honestly didn't really care. I was just enjoying the vibe. We ended up having takeaway Chinese for dinner. We had a few beveraginos. We played a card game, me, Bianca, and her roommate. And then that was that day done. And then the next day, it was full on. We got up early. We went for a walk to a local cafe. We got a coffee. Well, Bianca got a coffee and I got a juice. I don't know why I'm such a sucker for a juice. I'll have plans to go for coffee with one of my friends and they will always get a coffee, and I will like 95% of the time get a juice. I just prefer them so much more to a coffee. I don't know. Then after that, we ended up going to a waterfall. I think it's called like the Natural Bridge or something. Something natural, something bridge, I don't know. But it's this really pretty natural waterfall in Brisbane that actually has glowworms inside of the cave, which we didn't get to see. Sadly, I was really freaking sad about that, but apparently they only glow at nighttime, even though that confused me in itself because the cave was really, really dark. I'm like, surely if they're just glowing all the time, you'd be able to see them even in the day in the cave because the cave was dark. But anyways, if you know the cave that I'm talking about, if you're from Brisbane, I would highly recommend going at nighttime, although walking that track at nighttime would be really freaking scary. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. But yeah, so we ended up doing that in the morning. It took like an hour and a half to drive there, I think. And then after that, we ended up going to a crystal warehouse. And this was the coolest freaking place of my whole entire life, you guys. This crystal warehouse was massive. I have never seen so many crystals in my whole entire life. It was so cool. So freaking cool. And because it was a warehouse, which is made for wholesales, it's made for small businesses to go and purchase in bulk for their businesses, everything was so freaking cheap. And it was, you know, my absolute favorite place to be. We were in there for a solid like 2-3 hours, I think, just because the place was so massive. Like going through every single thing takes so long. They had so many unique crystals, so many just different things that I had never ever seen, which if you're someone that listens to the podcasts or watch my YouTube videos regularly, you know that crystals, spiritual, like I talk about all of this stuff so much. It's very much part of who I am. So it was just really fun. It was very exciting, and there was just so many crystals there that I literally had never seen ever. We ended up staying a little bit past closing, which we kept apologizing to the people working. We were like, I'm so sorry, there's just so many amazing crystals, and it really truly does take a long time to go through and pick which one you want. If you're very much into crystals, then you know that picking a crystal isn't just as simple as looking at how pretty the color is or whether you like the shape or not and just picking it up and taking it because you like it. Like there's so much more involved. Every time I found a crystal that I really, really loved, I then Googled the meaning of it to see whether it was something that I wanted or needed in my life at the moment. There's just so many that are so pretty, so I'm like constantly Googling, trying to figure out which one I want and which one would be most aligned to me in my life at the moment. In the end, we got a massive box full of crystals. I did show them on my TikTok live the other night, but let me know if you guys would like to see on like Instagram or I don't know, like a TikTok video or I don't know, something like that. Then after that, it was a bit of a drive back home. We didn't get back home until like 6 p.m. at night, I think. We ended up chilling for a bit, watching TV, ordering dinner, went to bed. Then the next day we ended up going to Byron, which is like an hour and a half drive from where Bianca lives in Brisbane. So it was such a weird experience being in Byron and not having to drive like, I don't know, like 6-7 hours, however long it takes from Newcastle to Byron, because that's the only way that I've ever been to Byron or like traveled to Byron is by driving from Newcastle upwards. So it was very weird to just like jump in the car, drive an hour and a half and be in Byron. Crazy. We ended up going to a cafe called The Combi, I think, for breakfast. And then I popped in to the Silent Theory store, which as you guys know, I work with Silent Theory on a monthly basis. I create content for them. I post on my personal Instagram every now and again for them. And it is one of my favorite it is my favorite business relationship that I have. If it wasn't for Silent Theory, I don't think I'd have any clothes. Like literally 80%, maybe even 85% of my wardrobe now is Silent Theory, and I am so incredibly grateful for them. So their only in-person store is actually in Byron. So that was one of the main things that I wanted to do while we were there. I wanted to pop into the Silent Theory store, see what it's all like in person rather than, you know, just looking online like what I normally would do. So yeah, we popped in there. It was so cool. I'm obsessed with the vibes, and I actually ended up finding a jacket that I am so obsessed with, like literally the coolest freaking jacket ever. I ended up just picking up a 3-pack of socks though, something little and cheap that I could like actually bring home with me. So for my trip there, I actually only brought a carry-on bag, so I couldn't really get anything too big because I just didn't have the room in my bag. I brought a backpack. So I ended up just getting a 3-pack of socks. I've always seen them on the website and I've always wanted to get them, but I just never have. So something little, something easy to put in my bag for the trip home. But this jacket, you guys, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I got home. So I think I'm gonna have to jump on their website, use my coupon code, which if you guys want to shop Style in Theory, you can use my coupon code Lacey15 for 15% off. Oh guys, their stuff is so cool, and this jacket, it was something else. I need it in my life. I really do. It was so freaking cool. But yeah, anyways, after that we ended up going to the Crystal Castle, which is another really cool crystal place in Byron. It's so hard to explain what it is if you've never been or if you've never heard of it. Pretty much it's just like a big place full of spirituality, you know? Very much my vibe. There's heaps of different Buddha statues, there's heaps of crystals, like massive crystals, massive, and it overlooks like a bunch of really beautiful property. And yeah, there's just heaps of different rituals that you can do there as well. Like there's a big spiral, like a gratitude circle that you can walk around, and they have like meditation sessions and sound healing sessions as well, which is really cool. I personally have never done one of the sound healing sessions or the meditation groups. I think it would be really fun to do that, like to go there for a whole day and do one of those things. But yeah, we were just there for the afternoon. It was super fun. It was a beautiful day. It was very cold. That was the only thing. Very cold, which is weird for Byron. That's very weird. But yeah, other than that, it was really fun. We came home, had an early night, got coffee, me and my juice the next morning, and then I hopped on a plane at like 11 the next day and I came back home. So yeah, that's my update for this week. I actually had quite a busy weekend, which was so much fun. As you would know if you follow the socials and the business and all that fun stuff, I normally only get one weekend a month off in terms of markets and everything. So yeah, I was so excited for it to be my weekend off, for me to be spending it somewhere a bit warmer than Newcastle. Filmed a lot of little videos on my phone as well, so it was fun to be creative in a different way that didn't feel like pressure or like work. Like it was really fun to just film little bits and pieces, and I put together a reel for my Instagram, which is really cute. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. My personal Instagram is just I'm Lacey Jane if you want to go and have a look. That was my first time on a plane since before COVID, like well before COVID too, so it's been a hot minute. It's nice to be surrounded by that vibe and that energy because, you know, that's what I want my life to be. I want to be able to be at a point where I can travel whenever, wherever. And I don't know, I'm 100% a believer that you have to surround yourself with the energy that you want your life to be for it to become your life. Like you have to like fake it till you make it, pretty much. And me sitting in the airport, even just to go, you know, one state over to see my friend, it gives me the vibes of like, this is my life. I'm traveling, I'm going here, I'm going there. So I don't know, it just put me in a really great mindset, a really great refresh for the new month. It's almost June, which is crazy. I think by the time this episode goes up, it will be June. Yeah, the 2nd of June. How freaking crazy. Halfway through 2023. That's actually insane. So that's my little life update for the beginning of this episode. Please let me know in a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube what you got up to last weekend. I would love to hear all about it. And I hope that your first few days of June have been going well as well. So with all of that being said, I'm going to jump straight into the topic of today's episode, which I came up with all on my own. As you guys know, topics, they're a difficult thing for me. They really are. So the fact that I came up with this one all on my own, I'm very proud of myself. Please be proud of me too. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about all the advice that I would give to my younger self. So if I was to meet my younger self today, what would I tell her, knowing the life that she has in front of her for the next 5 to 8, 10 years? So yeah, these are going to be, I think I have 7. yeah, these are going to be 7 tips that I would give to my younger self. Hopefully these little tips and advice or little things that I would have said to my younger self will resonate with you or help you in some way with anything that you're currently going through in your life. Once again, these are just things that I would have said to my younger self. So take them with a grain of salt, incorporate them into your life as you will, as you can. And yeah, I guess let's just get into the first one. So the first thing that I have written down says to stop caring about what others think of you, which I feel like I have generally been pretty good at being able to do this throughout my whole life. But as I am human and as we all are human, I think it's super easy to get caught up in what other people think of you, whether it's family, friends, people in relationships. And I feel like that's generally what I'm talking about. Like if I was talking to my younger self, I would say stop caring about what family thinks of you, the expectations from family, stop caring about what people in relationships think of you, friendships, workplaces. I think generally growing up, I never cared about what like general other people. Like I never cared about what other people that I don't know think of me. But when it came to the people that I truly cared about and the people that I wanted to like me, I cared way too much about what they thought. And realistically, knowing what I know now and after being through the life that I have been through so far, I really would just say to myself, if you truly care about what those people think and they don't think good things about you, or they want to be mean to you or talk shit about you behind your back, or don't accept what it is you want to do with your life, then they are not the right people to have in your life. They are not the people for you, and that is totally okay. I used to do this thing growing up where I really just wanted everyone that I had in my life to be in my life forever. I didn't fully understand the concept that people are in your life for seasons and reasons, and I think it really does take, you know, having friendships, having relationships, losing friendships, and fully understanding that that is just part of life and people truly are in your life to teach you lessons. And that is really sad to realize as you grow up, but I think it's something that you get used to, unfortunately. Like, it's sad that not everyone is going to be in your life forever, but I think the more that you understand the lessons that people are teaching you throughout each different season of your life, the more at peace you will be with having people come in and out of your life. Like, appreciate them and the moment that they were in your life, appreciate your friendship with them, your relationship with them, and just allow it to be what it is, you know, an experience, a lesson, and just know that moving forward, you have gained so much from that person. You have gained knowledge, you have gained experience, you have gained whatever it is that you have gained from that person or even situation, to be honest. I feel like that one took a bit of a turn to like people are in your life for seasons and reasons, but the main dot point that I have down says stop caring what people think about you, which I feel like they can be, you know, intertwined. I cared so much about what people thought about me because I didn't want to lose people from my life. I wanted to make sure I was this perfect person who did everything to the standards of other people instead of the standards of myself, because I didn't want people to leave me and, you know, leave my life because I thought that the people in my life were good. And, you know, maybe in the moment they were, but you know, as you grow and change and evolve, so do the relationships in your life. And that is so incredibly normal, like so normal. And I think when you're still young and trying to figure out life and the world and like, why do people do this? Or why is this happening like this? Like, the more life you live, truly, the more you will understand. And it's shit that that's just how life goes. Like, it is, because, you know, you live your young years where it's supposed to be fun and, you know, you have no responsibilities, no cares, but you, like, care so much about things that, like, when you look back when you're 25, 30, 35, you're like, why the fuck did I care so much about that? Like, why? I should have just been enjoying the moment and, you know, just living for yourself, for myself. The second one that I have written down says, listen to how you feel after spending time with certain people. This is such a massive, massive thing for me in my life now. If I leave hanging out with you, or if I end a conversation with you, whether that's text message, phone call, or like I said, like hanging out, if I leave a situation with you and I go home and I feel drained, tired, exhausted, lazy, like if I feel any negative emotions, I tend to really take a step back from that relationship and take a look at it from an outsider's perspective and really truly look at the energy of that person and how their energy is affecting me. Energy is such a big thing for me now, and I don't know whether that's just because I've learned a lot more about myself, or I've learned a lot more about spirituality and like how different energies truly can affect you. But yeah, just listening to your gut, your intuition, and how you feel during and after spending time with someone. There's 100% been times in my life where I've been hanging out with certain people and I had gotten so exhausted to the point where I was like sleeping while we were supposed to be hanging out, which if you know me, that's not anything like me at all. And I genuinely put it down to the fact that I was just surrounding myself with draining energy. Like it physically drained the life out of me to the point where I was exhausted and I was sleeping like 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the day, which is like not normal. And I highly suggest taking a look at the relationships in your life, or even how you're showing up, what you're eating, what you're drinking. Obviously all of those things, making sure you're healthy on the outside. But if everything is healthy on the outside, take a look at the energy and the people that you are surrounding yourself with. I feel like I'm so good at picking up on those signs now too. If hanging out with someone makes me feel excited and like I want to go and do things, like I have more energy, like I could literally go home and work out, then that is the type of person that I want to be hanging out with every single day. You want to hang out with people that uplift you, that motivate you, that make you want to be a better version of you. You don't want to be hanging out with those people that when you leave, you feel exhausted. It's not worth it. And ultimately, if you really truly do take a look at the situation that you're in, whether again that is a friendship, relationship, family relationship, truly taking a step back and looking at whether that relationship is benefiting you in a positive or negative way is something that I 100% would have told my younger self. The next bit of advice that I would give to my younger self, and a bit of advice that I still need to take on board today, is to just enjoy the present moment. Be as present as often as you can, because that is when you're going to be the happiest, which is so much easier said than done. So much easier said than done, especially when you are a girly that struggles with anxiety like me. Anxiety really truly, I think, is the number one thing that stops me the most from being super, super present in my everyday life. It's something that I'm continuously working on, because stressing about the past or the future is literally going to get you nowhere. You have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in the future, good or bad, and you cannot change the past. You can learn from the past, you can grow from the past, and you can become a better person from past experiences that you have been through, but you cannot change them, and you cannot change the future or predict the future or plan the future. So really truly leaning into exactly what it is you feel in the moment, I think, is so incredibly important. I don't know, just for living a happier, more fulfilled life in general, and for appreciating the moments that you have while you have them. I think life is so long, but it also goes so quickly. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, how are we already in June? Like 2023 is half over. It's going so freaking fast. So I don't know, just being present, again, it's something that I need to continue to work on. But if I was to meet myself from 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, even yesterday, I would say that you need to learn to focus on being more present, because otherwise you tend to miss the really amazing, great things that are happening in your life currently, because you're so stressed about the future or worried about the past. And this was a headspace that I was in last week. Once again, I was feeling extremely burnt out, and I think that's why I was in this headspace. I was so worried about the future. I was worried about money. I was worried about where I'm going to be in 6 months, what my life in 12 months from now looks like. I have a lot of what ifs in my life at the moment, like both personal, business, literally my life could go any single way at the moment. And I think I was like so caught up in my head about that instead of just being present. And it's something that I really want to get better at now, because I currently am living a life that I used to stress about and worry about and like think about all the time. And now that I'm living that life, I just need to sit and I need to be grateful. I think, especially with social media, and like we spoke about in the beginning again, with like the hustle culture and, waking up and grinding and looking forward to your future, and like, I don't know, it's also hard when you see everyone else around you like steps forward in life to you. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I did little quotation marks in the YouTube video when I said that. This is a whole separate podcast episode that I actually have planned for the future. But comparing yourself to other people and where other people are at on their life journey compared to you is one of the worst things that you can do. Stressing about, Sally from high school who's pregnant and engaged and, all of the things, that is not benefiting you in any way, and stressing about like your future in terms of that. Sally has this. Sally isn't a real person, by the way, you guys, just to make that clear. But like, Sally's got this, Sally's got that. Like, when am I going to get that? Like, what does that look like for my future? Like, that is so unhealthy to then get yourself in a mind space that like spirals out of control, because every single person is put on this life for a different reason. Everyone has a different purpose, and everyone's lifeline is going to look different. And that is okay. It's actually so incredibly beautiful, the fact that everyone has a completely different life to live. No two people are going to live exactly the same life on exactly the same timeline, which is one of the coolest freaking things. Like, when you actually sit down and think about it, every single person is living a completely different life, which is so special. And it really does make you think, like, why am I comparing myself to whoever that I saw on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, when like they are just one person, and just because a handful of people have right now what you ideally want in your future, that does not mean that it's never going to come to fruition for you. I think learning to focus on what you're doing right now is actually going to be so incredibly beneficial for your future life without you having to stress and worry about it. Being present, focusing on what you're doing day to day will eventually get you to the places where you want to be if you're continuing to show up as the best person you can and work extremely hard on the things that you enjoy and the things that you are passionate about. Definitely one that I need to pay attention to a lot more in my life currently as well. But yeah, just enjoying the moment, and not even terms of like life or work or any of that stuff, like enjoying being here right now. Tomorrow is never guaranteed. That's another thing. I don't know. I think it's important to put your phone away for a second, put work away for a second and just be here now, whether that is with a friend or a partner or whether it's on your own. Sit for a minute in today and just take in what your life is, what today is. So the next thing that I would tell my younger self is that setting boundaries with all relationships in your life is so healthy. Make boundaries and stick to them. And this is something that I learned in therapy with my lovely therapist, Leslie. Leslie is very big on setting boundaries for yourself because, looking at life, knowing what I know now, it is extremely important, whether that's with friends, in relationships, or with family, or even workplaces. It is very important to know what you want, to know what you deserve, and then put those boundaries in place for if people cross those boundaries, you are aware of that and you know, okay, this person isn't respecting my space, my time, my energy because they have crossed a boundary that I have set in place, so they are not the person for me. This is not the friendship for me. I need to distance myself from family, So for example, with what I do for work, it allows me really to be able to pick up the phone to anyone I want at any time. Like, just because I'm working and at work, it doesn't mean that I can't be available to whoever, whenever. But for me, I have consciously made the decision to set the boundary in place of I am not taking phone calls from anyone between the hours of 8:30 and 3 p.m. because those are my work hours, for example. That is a healthy boundary that I've put in place for myself. Another example could be, social media time or phone time. Something, again, that I like to do while I'm working is put my phone on the opposite side of the room so that while I'm editing a video or filming the podcast, my phone isn't right next to me and I don't have that temptation of picking up my phone and going on my phone. And that is a healthy boundary that I've put in place for myself. I'm not going to go on my phone while I'm working. I'm going to prioritize work for, 4, 5, 6 hours of this day between this time and this time. Healthy boundaries that you might put in place in terms of family relationships, like if you can tell that certain family members or relationships within your family are draining to you or affecting you in any way, you can set the boundary in place of I'm only going to see this family member this many times a week. I'm going to only see this family member when there is a large group of us around. But knowing in your own mind that, this is what I deserve, this is how far I'm willing to go, and then putting those boundaries in place to protect you and yourself is so important. And I feel like there's been so many times over the past, like I've been saying, 6, 8, 10 years of my life where I just didn't even know boundaries were a thing. Like, I literally would just let anyone do and say whatever they wanted to me because the relationships that I had with people were more important than how I felt. And that's so fucked. Like, it's so toxic now that I think back about it, that like keeping people in my life was so much more important to me than looking after myself and how I felt and how certain people made me feel. And if you don't have any healthy boundaries set in your life at the moment, if you are feeling like you let a lot of people walk over you, if you're feeling like you have to do certain things for the benefit of other people, but you really, really don't want to do the things, or you feel uncomfortable in any way, then you need to take the step to put in those boundaries for yourself. So going along off of that one, the next one that I have written down says, stand up for yourself. You deserve more, which definitely correlates and links in with the setting healthy boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries is something that I started doing as soon as I realized that I deserved more and I deserved better. I think as soon as you start to learn more about yourself and actually start to care about yourself and your life, as soon as you start to learn to love yourself and who you are, as soon as you start working on yourself and putting in the effort, you start to stand up for yourself a little bit more and know that you deserve more. I think standing up for yourself and knowing that you deserve more gets easier once you have started to do the work on yourself. But yeah, that's in terms of everything. Home, work, friends, relationships, again, like anything in life. Know that you deserve more if you feel like you deserve more. And it's also okay to feel like you deserve more. Like, it's not a horrible, mean thing. It's not, nasty to anyone. It's just realizing that someone or some situation is treating you poorly and you deserve more. I feel like that's one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself, is knowing that you deserve more and then acting on it. And once again, that comes into any aspect of your life. I know for me, with my last job, this is a really good example. I knew that I deserved better for a really, really long time. I think it really took me getting to a particular point in that job where I was like, this shit's fucked. Like, I deserve so much better than this. I knew that I was worth more. I knew that my time was more valuable, and I knew that my energy could be put into something better than pouring beers and waiting tables. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I fully stepped into what that embodied and what that fully meant that was when I quit. And I did do better, and I got myself better, and I worked for better because I knew that I deserved better. Another example is home situations. If you are in a toxic home life, I 110% think stand up for yourself. Work hard for yourself to get out of situations that you don't deserve. If you are currently living at home with family and the dynamic isn't the best, if it's not a super healthy situation for you, then definitely put in the time, put in the money, put in the effort to look for alternate situations, whether that's with friends, whether that's you moving out on your own. I know 100% that's what I did. I didn't love my living situation, even though at the time it was easier. It was, better for me to save money that way. I found that my living situation was not beneficial for my mental health. It was affecting my mental health a lot. So one day I decided, you know what? No, I deserve better. I deserve better than the situation that I'm in. So I ended up finding my little apartment that I have right now. Literally 6 years ago, by the way, you guys. That was 6 years ago that I moved into my own unit. Crazy. But I did that work for myself because I knew that I deserved better than the situation that I was in. If I could tell myself or give myself this advice, when I was in my first hospitality job, I was working 55 to 60 hours a week at that job. I didn't deserve that. I deserved to have a weekend. I deserved to, have a couple days off in a row without feeling guilty about it. But that's just not what it was. And I didn't realize that that's what I deserved. I just thought, this is work. This is life. This is what people do, which is not true. And the more that you live your life and learn and grow, you learn. You figure these things out. But 110%, that is what I would tell my younger self. You deserve more, girl. Go and get it. Go and get the things that you deserve. So the second to last piece of advice that I would give my younger self is to follow your heart, even if it goes against society's norms, which I think I wrote this one in terms of hobbies, things that you genuinely enjoy doing, or even things that you want to do with your life in terms of work and what your career looks like or what your future looks like too. I think society puts this unrealistic pressure on every single human being, that every single human being has to, go to uni, get a well-paying job, get a mortgage, have a family, and that's just not everyone's journey on this earth. Because once again, circling back to a few dot points ago, every single human being on this earth is different, and every single human being has their own experiences and their own path in which that they are supposed to be on. So following your heart is so incredibly important, and I feel like there was so many times growing up where I didn't do the things that I wanted to do, circling back again, because I cared about what other people thought about me. I cared way too much about the pressure from society, the pressure from family, the opinions of people in high school, the opinions of people at, my stupid hospitality jobs, which now that I look back and I'm not working those jobs now, I'm like, oh my God, why? Why did I care about what these people thought about me when I knew deep down that I wasn't going to be working that job forever? I think this is a really big thing that I would tell my younger self. Follow your heart in terms of goals and dreams and hobbies and interests. And just because someone thinks that this hobby that you have is stupid or lame or makes you a loser, no, it doesn't. If that hobby or interest makes your heart happy, then do it, and do it for you. And there's really not much more I can say about it, really. All of these are easier said than done, because if they were easy, I would have done them, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I would have been doing them if they were easy. But yeah, following your heart. I mean, even in terms of my sexuality, you guys, and that's a whole nother topic, which, you know what? I haven't actually ever thought to talk on. If you guys want to hear a whole video all about, my sexuality, how I knew about my sexuality growing up and all of that stuff, I feel like that could actually be really fun. Lacey, Write that down. Editing Lacey, write that down. But yeah, even in terms of my sexuality, I feel like for so long, especially in high school, I had that feeling in my heart, that I was attracted to girls and not really boys, but I cared about what other people thought. And I mean, I also was confused at the time. I didn't really understand what that meant, but instead of following my heart and leaning into those feelings, I shut that shit down and I got a boyfriend instead, which was an awful experience in general. But anyway, that's in the past, and like I said, we focus on the present. But yeah, lightly touching on that side of it too, if I had followed my heart and listened to those feelings from the beginning, I feel like I would have found myself a lot sooner in life, which again, everything happens for a reason. This is my life's path and journey. I was supposed to figure myself out when I did, but looking back, if I had just followed my heart and what I felt in those times, I think my life would be completely different, especially in the last year of high school and the couple years after that. I could have avoided a lot of trauma. A lot of shit. But yeah, anyway, all jokes aside, follow your heart. I think it's so incredibly important. You are the only person who is waking up every single day and living your life. You're the only person that you are with every single day, 24/7. So you need to make sure that the things that you are waking up every single day are aligned to you, are things that fill your cup up, and are things that make your heart happy. Because if you're not doing that and you're living your life for someone else, what even is the point? Like, if you want to take it there, like, what is the point of waking up every single day and choosing decisions and living a life that is for the validation of other people and not for yourself? I'm sorry, but that is not a life that I want to be living, and it's not a life that I want you guys to live either. And the very last bit of advice that I would give to my younger self is that masking pain with temporary highs is never going to get you closer to your dream life. And this is one that's probably a bit more personal to me, but I'm sure other people can relate to it as well. Growing up, I had this ideal image of what I wanted my life to be, which was self-employment, making YouTube videos, doing all the things that I do now. You guys know, we've spoken about it a lot. And growing up, I thought that goal and that dream was so far away, and it's because I didn't do a lot of these things that I've listed already. I didn't set boundaries for myself. I didn't follow my heart. I didn't stand up for myself. And as soon as I started doing all of those things, everything started to fall into place, because I was doing the beneficial, healthy things for me, and I was turning myself into the version of myself that lived my dream life. But in the process, and while I was just going through life, learning the shit that I needed to learn to be where I am today, I constantly was masking my pain with all different sorts of things. Alcohol for me was a really big one. I used alcohol to help my anxiety in social situations. If I had plans or an event or anything where I was around, a large group of people, I would black out so that I didn't feel anxiety. Very, very unhealthy. Very much something that I would go back and tell my younger self not to do. And I also used alcohol in those times where, I was around people that drained me, and I was around people that didn't fill my cup up. I drank alcohol because, it filled my cup up for the moment. I was partying, having fun, having a good time. But once the alcohol wears off and you wake up the next morning, you feel twice as bad. Like, it's worse than what it was before. So yeah, temporary highs will not get you closer to your dream life, and it will not fix the issues in your life that you are currently dealing with. Obviously, it's a very enticing thing, whether that is alcohol or I know lots of people use weed to, get a high and like escape their reality for a bit. I understand that it's a very tempting thing, so much to the point where I did it for years, it's great to escape your life for a little bit, have a fun 48 hours and just leave all your responsibilities behind. And it is still even okay to do that sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you're constantly doing that, multiple times a week, and you know in the back of your mind when you're doing it unhealthily and when you're just doing it, to go and have a fun night with your friends, like once a month, once every 2 months, whatever, you know in the back of your mind when it tiptoes the line of unhealthy. And if I truly could go back and tell my younger self, I think one thing out of this whole list would be to face the feelings that you're feeling rather than masking them with temporary highs. And I think this is something that a lot of people do and go through, especially in your late teenage years, early adulthood. Like, your early 20s is such a difficult time. Like, it's such a transformative time in your life. You are learning so much about yourself, the people around you, who you are, who you want to be, what you want to do. And it can get extremely overwhelming to the point where you do just want a break from it. You do just want a break from the toxic relationship, from the unhealthy home life, from the shitty workplace. But going back to the topic of this video, if I could go back and tell myself one thing, it's that's the thing that I would tell myself, because I truly think that it set me back a couple years and it hindered my growth in the times of my life where I could have learned a lot more from situations that I was in if I didn't just like mask my feelings and like go out and go clubbing and do whatever I was doing. Like, if I had sat in my feelings and felt what I was feeling and tried to understand what I was going through in the moment rather than just trying to forget about it, I think I would have learnt so much more, and I probably would have known a lot of the things that I know now, but earlier, because I would have started to put the work and effort into myself earlier. But once again, like, everyone has their own timeline. Those things were meant to happen to me. I was meant to learn that way, and I am very, very grateful that I have that understanding now, because going forward in my life, that's not an idea that I want to entertain. And I feel like I'm very, I don't think I want to say cautious, but like, I'm very well aware when I go out drinking of like how much is enough, how much is going to, you know, allow me to go and relax and have fun, but not like tip me so far over the edge to where I feel sorry for myself the next day. You know, I don't know. I feel like that last one was a bit of a word vomit. Hopefully you got something out of that last stop point, and hopefully you've gotten some sort of something out of the entirety of today's episode. I feel like this was a really fun episode. I really enjoyed chatting about all these different things with you all. I think a lot of people understand that like this whole list and everything that was spoken about in today's episode would be beneficial, but I don't think a lot of people actually put them into practice because it can be challenging. They are, you know, difficult things. It's difficult for you to stand up for yourself, to set boundaries, especially when it's in relation to people that you care about. But if I could go back and sit down and have a good old chat with, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old Lacey, I would really try and drill these things into her. She 100% would not listen, because I know me back then. She would have looked at me and been like, girl, you're fucking crazy. Take your spiritual shit and take it elsewhere. Hopefully you gained something from today's episode. Please let me know what you thought about it in a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. That would really mean the whole entire world to me. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's just Lacey Jane. If you're watching on YouTube, it's easy as for you. Click the subscribe button right down below so that you get notified whenever I upload a new episode. I do have a ton of extra videos coming over the next few weeks as well in preparation for my trip to the UK. I have so many exciting videos that I want to film for you guys, like travel essential hauls. I want to clean out my wardrobe. I'm going to film a packing video for you all, and I also might do a couple daily vlogs while I'm over there as well. Definitely make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't already written in to our email for the podcast, then please feel free to send me an email at tonurtureyoursoulpodcast@gmail.com. This is an email that you can write into and ask for any advice or offer any topic suggestions for future episodes, or even if there's just something weighing on your heart that you would like to get off your chest and have me read on the podcast, even get everyone else's opinion on, then that is the space to do so. I love reading all of your emails as always. It's super helpful for the production side of the podcast. It allows me to feel like I am creating content that you guys want to hear and that you enjoy. Make sure to follow the To Nurture Your Soul Instagram, my personal Instagram, which is I'm Lacey Jane. I've got heaps of fun travel stuff coming up super soon, which I cannot wait for. I'm so excited. Other than that, I hope you all do something for yourself this week. Do that one thing that makes you happy, that puts a smile on your face. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I love you all very much. I appreciate you all so much, and I will talk to you all in the next episode.